Hey guys, Michael here from Dapper Raptor Development, and I'm going to cover the integration process for the quest map and navigation system. This is the most recent and third version of this tutorial, and that is because I have recently submitted and pushed out version 1.2 across the Unreal Engine 4 Marketplace, Gumroad, and itch.io. We'll be integrating it again into the multiplayer survival game template, and the reason we're doing this is that this is a pre-existing complicated project that has a controller and its own map that we can work from. So it's just an example of a fairly in-depth project that we can use rather than just integrating it into one of the blank tutorials. If you've got this on the marketplace, you can simply go down to the quest map in your vault and click add to project. Select the project and click add. If you do not have it on the marketplace, you've got it through Gumroad or itch, then you will have access to the various versions. All you need to do is open it up, go into content, and then you can drag the quest map folder in here into the content folder in your thing, and that will actually have the exact same files in it. This one has a couple of extra empty folders, but aside from that, the files themselves are exactly the same. So you just copy paste, drag it over, and that will do the exact same process as add to project, and that will leave out the project file in that, and so you won't have any conflicts. So once that's done, we can actually get to work on the integration. So open up our project now, and hopefully that won't take too long for us to open. There we go. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is open up our controller that we're using. So in the survival game template, we use the survival controller. So that's in here, SGT, blueprints, game, survival controller. This will be different in your own project, obviously, and it will depend on how you've set up your files and that. But the controller you're using is the one you want to have open. Let's just close everything except for the event graph. We don't care about any of that stuff because that's all the template. Now we need to create a couple of things in here. Input mappings. So the correct way to do input mappings is go into project settings and go to input mappings, and we'll do it correct here. So we create two new action mappings, not magic, I don't even know where that came from. So open world map, and let's change that actually to toggle world map, and toggle local map, and we'll set this one to M for map, and this one to L for local map. Obviously you can set them to whatever you like. We're just creating the actual input mapping. That can close, and we'll just click save all, so it saves the project. And in our controller we can right click and go or toggle world map. I don't know if we set the local map to toggle or open. Toggle local map. We did do toggle. Cool, so we've got those two in there. Let's move them down a little bit so we've got a bit more space. And on the world map we want to use a flip-flop. I'll explain what these are once we've set them up. But we're going to use flip-flop, and then we want to also do a flip-flop down here. Now I've jumped ahead of myself a bit here. We need to actually add the components to this. So we want to go quest map manager. So just click on add component, type in quest map manager, let that add. Then we want to go world map, local map, and compass. So that's our 4 quest map components. So we need to have all 4 of them, unless you don't want to use all the features. So if you only want the world map, you just need the map manager and the world map. If you only want the local map, it's that one there. If you only want compass, those ones there. If you want the compass and the world map, those 3. That sort of thing. So we'll click compile and save on that. Now back to our world map toggle. We want to drag in drag in quest map, hold control, and from here we get set movement state. And we want to use 2 of these. So we're actually going to have to move this down a little bit more. Plug this guy into the target on both of them, and then also get a reference to self, because we're doing this in the controller. We want to pass the reference to this controller there. On A, we'll do that one there. On B, we'll do that one there. On this one, we want to set it to disable, and then we want to hold control again, drag in the reference to the world map manager, and go toggle on and toggle off. And we'll just plug that guy in there and there. So what's happening here is we're toggling the world map on and off, obviously. So every time we press it, it's running through this logic. The flip-flop, basically the way the flip-flop works is the first time you run this logic, it'll run A. Second time it'll run B. Then it'll go back and run A, B. So it's just a toggle switch. So when we're pressing it the first time, the map is not open. We want to open the map. First of all, what we do is disable movement on the controller using the set movement state function in the quest map manager, and then we toggle the world map on. On B, we re-enable the movement by ensuring this is set to clear, and then toggle the map off. Pretty straightforward. So we'll just comment that. World map toggle event. And down here we've got a pretty similar thing. We don't need to worry about movement states for the local map, but what we want to do is grab the local map, hold control and drag that in, and again we want to use toggle on, and as you might have guessed, toggle off. So hook them up like that, and that's it. So that will open and close our maps. There we go. We also want to add in a little bit of logic so we can actually zoom on the world map. And for this one, we're just going to use the hard control, because we probably don't want users to be able to remap this one. But we're going to use it so when you use the mouse wheel up and down, it will zoom in and out of the map. Oops, that's not the one. We want to use mouse wheel. Mouse events is the one we want, mouse wheel axis. Now to begin with, we don't want it to do anything when the mouse wheel axis is at 0. So straight off the bat we go equals to 0 for float. And if that is equal to 0, we use a branch, so hold B and click. And if it equals to 0, we don't do anything, so we don't touch this top bit here. If it's not 0 though, then we want to use a reference to the world map manager, drag off of that and go zoom map. Hook that up to false, and then we'll drag this guy over here and we'll just make it a little bit easier to read. Just like that. So what we're doing is, if there's no change to the mouse wheel, then we don't do anything. If there is a change, then we zoom it appropriately based on the value. So world map zoom. So that's all we need, those 3 for the controller event graph. We do have to add a interface, so click on class setting, click add, and we want to find quest map controller, this one here. That will add these 2 here, so get quest map manager and get components. We open them up. You do have to compile, I think, before you do this. Just drag and drop the quest map manager onto that one there. Go into quest map get components, sorry, and same thing. We want to just drag the appropriate one. So the world map goes in the world map manager, local map goes in the local map manager, and compass goes onto the compass manager. And then we're done. So that will actually make the base system work, I believe, off the top of my head. Let's fire up the map and just check. So if we've got two compasses there, that's just because the survival game template has its own compass, but you can see that they're matching up. If we hit M, got the map. If we hit L, there's no map set for this, so we've got the basic functionality working. No errors pop up, so that's great. We're off to a great start. So the next step is to change the actual map to the map image. So if we run back into here, you can see this is the one from the demo. We don't want it to have this one here. We want to have a map that actually matches this world. So there's a couple of ways to do this. The quickest way for prototyping and such is to go to top-down view, zoom out, set it to unlit, and you can see we've got our map here. If we click G, that will also, no, it won't. So if we hide all the stuff in here that we don't want, oops, we want landscape. Nope, that's not what we want. So I guess what you want to do is hide all these guys here. We won't worry about that. But you want to be able to hide the various things, so you don't have them on the map. I thought that you could hide them with game view, but I guess not in this mode. That's okay though. So you might need to group them all together or make your map with just the landscape or whatever you're doing. But we're going to high resolution screenshot mode, and we want to make it quite a lot bigger, so we get a decent quality one. We'll just go with 8, and we'll select this area here. We'll clip it out a little bit in Photoshop. Click that, let it do its thing, and we should have a reasonably high quality image here. Oh, no, I've done it the wrong way around. Need to zoom in because this tool is ridiculous. So we'll go about there, try again. Has that worked out a bit better? That's much better. So if we click on zoom here, you can see that even when we go in really close, it's still quite high quality. So this is the image we're going to work with here. So in Photoshop, drag and drop this one into here. And we just want to clip it out. So we've got an actual square one. So we'll get the rulers that are not showing. There we go. Drag in a guide here. Try and get that as close to on that line. So what we're going to use this nav mesh volume as our guide for our map zone. So as we go down here, and obviously what you would do in most cases here is games like Skyrim and Fallout, they don't have screen caps of the world. They have, well, Skyrim has a different one. Oblivion and Fallout, they have rendered, like, so drawn maps. So you would use this as a guide to then draw your map. Now, so that's what we're using here. If we go use crop, actually, we can now hook that onto there. I need to clear these. That should snap into our guides. With any luck, we've set it up more or less square. If not, we can check that. 1 pixel off. We'll just cheat here and resize it. 1 pixel is not going to make a big difference. And in actual fact, what we will do is we'll resize it to a factor of 2. Don't need to do this, but it's just a little bit nicer. So once that's done, you can save that image. Photoshop saving. Come on, why are you stuck at 94%? Photoshop doesn't like working with PNGs this big, apparently. So the basic idea here is you want to make a map that represents your world, and you need to turn that into an image, and that's what we've done here. Obviously this is not appropriate, you don't want all these entities on there and that, but it's just to give you a basic idea of how to get this up and running. So once it's done that, we can go back into our project and we can drag in our image. Might take a little bit, I'm not sure how Unreal goes importing images this big. Shouldn't be too bad. Yep, there we go. Cool. And we'll save that so it's saved. Okay, so then what we can do is we can jump into the quest map folder, go to materials and go to UI, and we find our world map one here. So this one here. And we just set our world map to our high-res screenshot, which is not named appropriately, but there we go. So now, when we're in the world, we've got this map. Now obviously we're not in the right spot. So then the next thing we have to do is set up the world dimensions, and this should be the second to the final step. Put that back into perspective. And we want to go back into our controller we're using. So we know from prior that's the SGT one. Go to controller, and we want to go back into top down. We want to work out how big this zone is that we're actually using for our world. Now, in this case, we can cheat a little bit because we've got the nav mesh. We can just look at how big it is. So it's 10,000 by 10,000. If you don't have something like that, what you can do is use the middle mouse, and it'll actually let you measure how far it is. So I can't get it exact, but it's 10,000, and it'll give you just that. So it's just a measuring tool. So what we do there is click on the world map, find the setting called world dimensions, and set that to 10,000. So now if we fire it up, our player should at the very least be in the right place. Yep, right there. And you can see we're spot on the spawn here. We look right there, was smack dab right on top of that player spawn. And then the final step we have to do is just mark our world ground. So you can do this with any amount of actors in your project, which means you can have multiple levels. You can have rooftops if you're in like a city area that can act as the ground and all that sort of thing. All you need to do is click on, in this case, the landscape. Scroll down to the actor settings, expand that, find the tags, add a new tag. Gotta wait for it to build navigation now. And then we give it a tag of ground. Now, depending on your project, you may not even have to do that. It will automatically work on anything that is above a certain level in the world. But as a safe bet, it's always good, especially if you have a large terrain like this and you can do it in one fell sweep. Just do it that way. And what that will do is allow us to accurately set our waypoints, so it doesn't go through. So that's the basic integration process. We're going to go through a little bit more here just to cover the extra features in the system. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in a actor for the waypoint, for the fire here, for the crafting table, for the lake and the spawn area, so that they show up on the map. So we'll start with the spawn area. And all we need to do for this is go into the quest map folder, and in the blueprints folder there's an actors folder which has our various things. So world location is actually what we're looking for here. We want to drop a world location, and that actually looks like a pretty good size. We could resize it, but we're not going to worry about that. We'll just leave it as it is. And what we can do here is give it a name. So this is the spawn location. We can set it to use a spherical trigger or a square one, doesn't really matter too much. Trigger size, we might just drop it down to about 400. And we'll set this as discovered because the player's going to spawn here. We can give it a marker, so let's use the home one. These markers aren't appropriate at all for this sort of level, but you know. And we can set the color of the marker, so let's also set that to a red because we want that to be one that the player can see really easily. And we will allow travel to and from it. We will set it to display, and we just need to add in a travel point. So what a travel point does is if you fast travel to this location, lets you set where the player spawns exactly and where they're looking. So we'll just drop that here, and we'll turn it around. That arrow is to indicate which way they're looking. There. So that's that one there. We'll move down to the, oops, so we need to set the travel point up. So we just, once it's in the world, can drop it and click on that. So we'll even give that a name of spawn location travel TP. So now if we were to click on this world location, spawn location world location, we can see there's that one there. So if we move down to the lake, we can do the same thing here. We can drop a travel point in the lake. Now it's going to go through, probably what would be better to do here would be to actually set it on the shore. Just drop that one there, and we'll have it overlooking the lake. So in that case, what we will do is we'll make the world location the shore. So we do actually want a lakeside TP. We'll call this one lakeside world location. We'll give it the name of lakeside. Make it say 300, and we'll make it a spherical one. Make it 400 actually. Its spherical ones are smaller. It is not discovered to begin with. We'll give it a. We'll just give it that one there. Give it an undiscovered tint of a light blue, and a discovered tint of a very dark or very vibrant blue. It doesn't have a local map, so I'm not going to cover local maps. They're basically just images you can set up. Well, you know what? We'll do one really quickly. No, we won't. It's basically just images for the local map. We'll allow fast travel too. We'll display it to begin with, even when it's not discovered, and we'll set up the travel point as lakeside. So already you can see what we're doing here. We look on here, you can see we've got this lakeside. We haven't discovered it yet. We've got this spawn location. If we try and click on that, we can't go there because it's not discovered. But if we were to walk down there and we enter the trigger volume just here, it says that we've now discovered the lakeside. So now it changes color, and we can actually fast travel between the two. There we go. So I was going to go over the other ones. I think I'll just leave it there because this video is already getting quite long, but you can see how easy it is to get up and running and set up the various points and have them so that they just work. That's the integration process for QuestMap. You can apply that to any project, and you just need to use a controller, and that's it. So if you have any questions, feedback, or anything else, please leave them in the comments below, and cheers for watching, guys.